YourCycle is still a work in progress. I started working on this dapp this past month, but I'm aiming to have it done for the Chainlink Hackathon and also as part of the Tableland Builders program. So I'm getting to play with a lot of fun different tech, and this is a public good. So I'd love to tell you about it. But first, let's start with kind of the problem statement and the audience for this. Worldwide, there are 2.5 billion women ages 15 plus, and many of us 2.5 billion women have periods. I know I do, and I'm sure some of you in this room, or your sisters, your mothers, your partners, the women in your life have periods. And a lot of us track our periods with mobile period trackers. This screenshot on the left is from Flow, and the one on the right is from Clue. These apps have 50+ million active users, and it's a way that a lot of women track their health data day to day. All right, having some internet issues, but these were two different links to news articles basically talking about how these period apps like Flow and Clue have your data and are selling some of this data to third parties. Sometimes that's sites like Facebook or Google, but sometimes it's even more nefarious and they're selling them to other advertisers or even potentially the government. Another link that is currently not working, I think I'm having some internet issues. But this link was a link to a news article that talked about Clue, one of those two period tracker apps. And it was found out, and there was a lawsuit because this fertility tracking app had actually given Facebook, oh, here we go. So it wasn't Clue, it was Flow. So Flow got a slap on the wrist for sharing this user data, even though it had promised the users privacy. And so I think this happens in a lot of different apps, not just period tracking apps, but this can be really serious, especially because in June of 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. So now more than ever, this data needs to be protected, and I don't think that we can rely on apps to do this. So now what? This was a link to another article that was talking about period tracker apps post Roe v. Wade, and basically how now we're in this precarious situation where these apps have a ton of our data and historical data. Should we keep using them? And I think the answer is no. Can the devs do something? I'm a dev and I'm on it, and maybe some of you would like to help me build this public good. So introducing YourCycle. So the three things that I think about YourCycle are that ownership is important, privacy is important, and then UX is important. So for ownership, you should own your data. And that should be all of your data, but especially your super sensitive health data. Privacy. Your sensitive cycle data shouldn't be sold or even accessible by these third parties. It should just be yours. And then last of all, I'm creating this as a dapp, but I don't think that we should compromise on UX just because something is a dapp and it's decentralized and it's on a blockchain. I think that, I hear some clapping, yes. I think that we should have mobile-first, incredible UX experiences that we expect from the Web 2 counterparts. Just because we're doing something that is more secure or we own the data doesn't mean we should have to sacrifice on UX. So the first part of YourCycle is a soul-bound public NFT, and this is the key to accessing all of your data. This is how I imagine the YourCycle claim looking like. So you name your cycle. I called mine Ant Flow. And then you pick two colors to create a fun gradient. Maybe there would be more colors eventually. This is kind of just like an MVP. And I know what you're thinking. If this is a public soul-bound NFT, wouldn't everyone be able to see this super sensitive data that we're trying to protect? And the answer to that is public key encryption. So the way public key encryption works is that you take any type of data, so maybe it's just a plain text message that says, hello world, or anything like that, and you use your public key to encrypt that string. So then you have an encrypted message that looks something like this. And that will get stored somewhere. Doesn't matter where, but I'm sure you can guess it's going to be on IPFS. But anyway, when you're ready to decrypt that message, you use your private key, and then you can read the original plain text message. So that's kind of what I'm working on with encryption and decryption for individual users for that super sensitive data. And I'm storing it using OrbitDB, which is a peer-to-peer database by IPFS. There was a link to it here, but it has disappeared. But the data structure I'm going with is a feed, and that's so that the data that's stored can be mutable, and it can be removed by the user if they decide for whatever reason they don't want it on the blockchain anymore, even though it is encrypted. So this is useful for other things like shopping cart or blog posts or tweets, but it's going to be, oh, here we go. Beautiful little GitHub link finally showed up. So I'm using this peer-to-peer database to store everything. And I'm building in public and posting a bunch of updates on the YourCycle Twitter. And this has been really awesome. I really encourage you all to also build in public. Someone named Maximus saw some of the tweets and my plan for YourCycle, and he reached out and he said that he had some ideas on security. So he's actually going to help me improve the security of this app and possibly change kind of like the encryption model to use a secondary key as well as a cryptographic salt. So I just thought it was cool that by open sourcing this and making it public good and building in public, other people have given really helpful suggestions. So it's been very fun. That's all I have. Check out the Twitter by scanning this QR code, and I'd love to get feedback and tons more suggestions as I build this over the next month. Thank you so much.